name is Nina Camplin and I am the online arts facilitator for the VC Gallery. Welcome to another one of our live watch parties, and today we're looking at doing a still life with apples based on the painting by Paul Cezanne. And this is a tribute to Cezanne, as yesterday the 19th of January was his birthday. So I've started with I've got old canvas that I'm recycling. I've just put a yellow ground on that just to block out what was underneath it, really. So to start with, I'm just going to set the camera up so it's closer to the easel. So looking at Paul Cezanne, he did a lot of different things, but I chose this one just because I haven't done a still life on one of these watch parties before, so I thought it would be quite a different subject matter to use. And Paul Cezanne, I can only guess the way he painted this, but different to the way I would have done it. I would have put the whole background in, so I would have started with the background wall and then the table, and then I would have added the fruit into the front of it. But I looked at the way Paul Cezanne has worked on this. This is the painting that it's been taken from. It looks to me that he drew it out first, that he had his composition already sorted, because you can see how the background is kind of painted around the objects. It's not continuing through. And I also noticed that the level of the desk is not consistent. It looked like he was concentrating on each piece of that individually, rather than painting the whole thing first. So I'm going to look at each part of this composition separately. So it's very different to the way I would normally work. And I am going to start with the background, but I'm going to paint it around the fruit. Okay, so looking at this original, it's composed of small vertical strokes. So I'm going to start doing that. And I'm using a cerulean blue, lots of white, and I'm just going to start adding different colours into it as I'm doing it. So I'm going to start off with this is cerulean and some white, and I'm going to start by just putting in vertical strokes, and then I'm going to just add a few different colours into these. There's a little bit of the crimson there. And I'm going to just do the whole background in the same way. If I get too dark, I'm going to add a bit more white to it. Just small vertical strokes. Cezanne was he was described as very architectural in the way that he painted. He looked for these kind of circular shapes in everything that he painted. And he tried to break up the shape of everything he did into geometric basic shapes to make it easier to draw them. So this could obviously be done with a lot more detail than this, but I don't want you to be spending ages watching me just filling a background in. Apparently when Cezanne used to paint, he used to take about 100 different sittings for each piece of work that he did, and he'd really contemplate each brush stroke before he put it down. And he wanted to make sure everything was exactly as he wanted it to look, so he planned it so each stroke needed to contain the air, the light, the object, the composition, the character, the outline and the style. So that's quite a lot to put into each stroke, which I'm really obviously not doing here. I'm looking for an overall likeness to what he's done. Now I'm going to paint this top apple here, and I'm going to start by putting down just a yellow base. I've drawn this out in charcoal so it picks up in the paint a little bit, but I'm not going to worry too much about that. So I'm going to put just a small tint of, I'm just taking the red here, I'm just going to mix that into the yellow because I don't want it to be too strong. Very pale orangey colour around the bottom of this apple. So yeah, just pale orangey red to give it some shading around here, and then I'm going to blend that out, and I'm just going to put a little bit more of it on this. I think it's where the stalks come out. Again, blend it out into the yellow. And then I've got, I want to put a dark area in on this side as he had in the original. I'm using a little bit of the burnt umber here. I'm going to mix that into the orangey colour. And I'm coming in from this side. In fact, I'm going to add a little bit of the blue just to take the redness out of it. So we're going in there. And he also kind of puts a very fine outline around his fruits. So I'm going to come around with the same colour and take it around the bottom as well. And in between the fruit there's quite a dark shadow in there. And then we've got the indentation where the core was. And there's a little dent in the apple there too. There's some marks on the side. So I'm going to try and blend that in a bit more using the yellow, taking this out. Make that a little bit darker. I think I might work from left to right. If I go to this apple first. So this one, his painting is done very green, so I'm going to use the cerulean and cadmium yellow together. I'm trying to leave it quite pale in the middle here, so I'm going around. I'm going to build it up darker around the sides. Take the cadmium yellow into the middle to blend it into. And then I need to make this darker around the edges, so I'm going to add in some burnt umber. Mixing the burnt umber and the cerulean together. When you go too dark with this and you want to take the yellow back into it a bit more, but it's too translucent to go over this, just add a little bit of white to it, and then you can bring some more yellow into the green areas. Okay, right, I'm going to go on to this one here now. I'm going to start off by putting just a yellow base down. And then I've got red coming in from the right. So just here. I want to blend that into the yellow a bit more. And then on this side I'm just going to add a little bit of green to show it reflecting the green from the other apple. Just quite pale. And then I'm going to do this final apple here. Again, going in with the yellow first. Cover it with yellow. And then I'm going to take the red and add it to this side here. And some around this edge too. And then it just needs to blend in with the yellow. And then I've got to do a bit of detail with the burnt umber. I've got a tiny mark on this apple here. And then we've got another indentation where the stalk would have been in here. This is very wet now. And I'm going to just take this shadow down a bit further as well. It also got an outline that comes all the way down between the apples. There's an outline around here. In fact, we have another distant apple behind this one. And we've got a shadow on this one here and here. So let's put this the green apple in behind. And now I'm going to put in the desk, and so that it looks like it's on a different plane to the background. The background strokes we did vertically. I'm going to do them horizontally on the table. I'm going to use burnt umber. And again, I'm going to do the same as I did with the background. I'm going to mix it with the other colours. So I'm using it with white to start with, and I'm just going to start putting in some horizontal strokes. And I'm going to add a little bit of blue to it. Blue, especially in this area here. Really needs to be much smaller strokes than this. Lots of really small strokes, but I don't want to be here doing this for hours. Now let's give the back of this table a darker area, where it comes out from this apple and goes along the back, and then just blend it in a bit. And then we've got a dark top to the table on this side as well, and some shading underneath this apple. So we've got a dark shadow in here, comes out to almost the same width as the apple, and we've got an outline around this plate. Now I'm going to put the plate in. So I've got some white here that's got some of the other colours mixed into it, because I don't want to really go pure white. So let's use this, mix a bit more white into it. And I'll put a base down first of all for the white. And then it's got a little bit of blue coming from the back. And blue just in front of this apple here. So I'm going back to the burnt umber with the cerulean, a little bit of red in there as well. And the shading from this apple kind of comes down and around this yellow one at the front. So we've got almost an outline around this one. And then we lose a bit of the plate in the background. And I think it's always better to, rather than try and get really strong defined lines, and you'll spend ages trying to get these apples looking the right shape, I always think it's better to blur it rather than try and define it too much. So you can even rub it with your finger to lose the line. And this comes out into the plate here. So again, you could just rub it into the colour. And then we've got some dark around this side as well. And around this apple. Let's just lose that bit of the plate. Now on the edge of his plate, he's got some just splashes of yellow and red. Use a kind of orangey colour. Got one about here. And there. A bit more yellow. I think it's just about there. I hope you enjoyed watching that little demonstration of Paul Cezanne's apples, and if you do a version of your own at home, please do post it on our VC Gallery Facebook page or on the Bright Side, because we'd love to see what you've done. And I will see you again next week. Bye.